And we should be live. Hello and welcome, everyone. I am KinoFlex, and as always, I am joined by Jan for KinoCast. And today is a special stream because we are joined by special guest Josh VanderNoord of the Overton Window, and we are going to be discussing a very divisive film at the moment. No, some of you may have heard of it. It's called One Battle After Another. Had to get rid of Jan for a second, but hey, he's back now. Yeah, let's start off. Not all of my either Jan or Josh are going to be here for a super long time, so we're going to try to get as much cover as we can. But yeah, Josh, why don't you tell us about yourself and briefly?
Yeah. So I'm the co-host of Outside the Overton, a political podcast with Zeb Boykin. Though I got into broadcast kind of to do my own thing, and one of those things is involving movie reviews, which is how Jack of KinoFlex and I got connected through a mutual, John Ward, and we started doing some reviews. We fairly recently over the summer, like Superman, Fantastic Four, and Weapons. So me and Jack, we've done a couple collaborations. Fun time. I was excited to be asked because honestly, I don't know if you were planning, Jack, when I was like, "Hey, have you seen Weapons?" You said no, and I was like, "You got to watch it. We got to do a review." And then you watched it and we're like, "This is great." So I was not planning on seeing one battle after another, but you were like, "Hey, do you want to do a review on it?" And I was like, "Okay, sure, yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm excited to
Uh,
be here.
yeah, I was really excited to see One Battle After Another because it was from someone who I would consider to be one of the greatest directors living right now, Paul Thomas Anderson, because he's made a bunch of great movies in the past. Uh, I'm just going to put them up right here briefly. So we have There Will Be Blood, classic, Boogie Nights, classic, Phantom Thread, another classic. Admittedly, I haven't seen everything, like all of his films. But yeah, do you guys have any special anything special to say about his past films?
Uh, yeah, I was gonna say, I obviously There Will Be Blood is There Will Be Blood is one of my favorite movies of all time. Probably, I'd say it's definitely top 10. Which is a boring choice, but I actually really like Phantom Thread as well. I forgot. I know you and I were talking about his movies a few days ago. And I completely forgot he made it, but that was a good movie. Um, and then I thought Licorice Pizza was just fine, but for what it was trying to be, it was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
Phantom Thread, I think was his. Oh, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm kind of the odd man out here because There Will Be Blood and Boogie Nights are the only things I see here that are on my yet to be watched list that I want to watch.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think I might be the only one here who's not seen a single Paul S. Is it Paul S. Anderson?
Oh, Paul Thomas Anderson, like PTA
Paul
is like
Thomas
his.
Anderson.
Yeah, yeah.
PTA, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm unfamiliar, but I've definitely heard the name before. But as someone who fancies themselves a movie reviewer, there's so many movies I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen any of the Rockies, and Boogie Nights,
Oh
and There Will Be
man.
Blood are another ones.
Oh
Punch
man.
Drunk
Like
Love, haven't seen it.
yeah,
Yeah,
we could dedicate an entire stream to Rocky movies once you watch them all. Because
that would be fun.
they differ wildly in quality.
It's like a
Yeah,
sine wave almost, where it's really sine or an inverse sine. Like it starts off really good, then it becomes shit, and then it becomes pretty good again.
yeah. I didn't know how crazy the Rocky movies get. My one of my friends who's a big fan of them, he he uh he told me there's a robot in one, and I was like, "You're
Yes,
lucky.
That's
Like
true.
that's
That's
not
true.
true."
yes, it's in the greatest one ever made, where he fights Ivan Drago. The Dolph Lundgren plays a Russian man who can punch like 1,000 psi or something. It's fucking crazy.
That's nuts. And I know a fun fact is the Predator movie, the original script was actually supposed to be a Rocky sequel.
Oh, really?
Was it really?
Yes,
That's wild. Yeah.
it started as like a crazy idea to make Rocky fight an alien, and they were like, "This is so stupid." But someone somewhere was like, "I like the bones of it though," and then it eventually became Predator.
It's like someone was they was this is so stupid. It's like that man that's probably the most correct man or woman on planet Earth who ever said that. No one has ever been more right since then.
Man, can you
Here's a
imagine
little
that?
fun fact for you guys.
Could you imagine like a Predator without Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
Man. Yeah, but that being said, like we there are a ton of Paul Thomas Anderson films we have yet to see. I've not seen Magnolia or Inherent Vice. Inherent Vice was also a Thomas Pynchon novel, which is what One Battle After Another is based on, a separate novel. But yeah, that's what brings us here today. One Battle After Another, and I know Jan's take on the film because we talked about it previously, but I am not familiar with Josh's take. So I guess right now we can just discuss it briefly, like what our takes on it are.
Yeah, so my initial thoughts without getting into specifics just yet is it was fine. Like I give it maybe a 6 out of 10, like not bad but not great, and I think that's okay to say because right now it seems like everyone is either loves it or they hate it.
Mm,
And like Jack would know this that we've talked about like political stances in movies whatnot, and
yeah,
even if there's political tones, political messages, or all sorts of different messages in movies that I myself don't agree with. I don't like if the movie's good, who cares? You know what I mean? Like
right.
what the movie is trying to push on people. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. And I think in my opinion, this is one of those movies where I think people's political opinions are maybe directing theirs because I thought it was okay. Granted, I'm a little biased. I'm not the biggest Leonardo DiCaprio fan, and I'm also not the fan. I'm not a fan of like 4 hour long movies. So I've got the attention span of a goldfish. So that's my take.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yes. So Josh, like completely fair, completely fair. Like for a film like this, you really need to lock in. You need to make sure that you're not like overeating. You haven't like you haven't drink a lot of your soda to use the bathroom, because this does ask a lot out of you, so that is understandable. But I gotta say, your take is so reasonable, that I'm kind of glad because Jan and I, like, the past couple days we've been watching like just
Suffering.
reviews of this, like yeah, suffering through reviews of this, and like a lot of reviewers are so off the mark on this film, like because you would agree that even though it depicts leftist terrorism, it in no way depicts the violence from them in a favorable light, right?
Yeah, it actually it's a little nuanced. You know what I mean? It kind of says here's these over the top bad guys, but the good guys aren't exactly like all lovey dovey too. They're not perfect badass girl bosses. They're flawed people, and it's yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, one can be described as a deconstruction or critique of such girl bosses in the form of Pernidia,
Idea. Yeah.
Perfidia. Yes,
Right.
sorry. Yeah, but
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, go. Sorry.
no, no, sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I was just gonna tack onto that because I kind of am inclined to agree. If I was to like give it I guess a number grade, I'd trend towards like a high 6, 7-ish range as well. That's not to say I didn't like it. I'm just kind of harsh on movies sometimes, but I did actually enjoy myself quite a bit. Um, the the thing that I find interesting that you kind of hit on is it is a lot of people have been saying the with regards to the political extremism. There seems to be a lot of acknowledgement that like the Christmas people are like, oh, they're obviously like, they're the evil extremists, right? But then the F-75 are also extremists, and they
Hmm.
absolutely. Jack and I have been talking about this. I can't think of one thing that they actually achieve that is like worthwhile. Like they don't
Yeah.
win, strictly speaking, ever. Uh,
Yeah, but we'll get into that later, like when we're discussing the plot. But like
yeah,
very briefly, I want to still touch upon like the various reactions it's been receiving because let's see. Yeah, so it obviously it comes in a time during like a lot of scary, unsettling political violence with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, something Josh and Zeb have covered in expert detail on their channel. Uh, and an ice shooting where some idiot like who is like a anti-ice shot up an ice facility, killing some of the immigrants or illegal immigrants being detained by ICE. Uh, and one of the most biggest cell phones I've seen.
Yeah,
Yeah, and a lot of people, such as Mr. Shapiro over here, have criticized it for that, like saying that's come out at a bad time, and because it came out at this specific time with all this violence, that's actually trying to condone it or promote it to an extent. And like this is one of the videos Jay and I watched prior. Like we think it's dumb, but it does beg and like a lot of these criticisms from critics like Ben to me sound a lot like the critics for Joker, if you remember Josh, back in 2019,
I
with a
do.
lot of mainstream journalists saying that it would inspire mass shootings. Of course, none of that happened, but nonetheless, like there was a lot of fear mongering over the movie. But with all that being said, like do some even if the critics of one battle to another and the critics of Joker are far off base, is there such a thing as bad timing for a movie? And if it doesn't come in the form of either one battle to another or Joker, what does it look like?
It's a good question, and I would say to my point about that, I definitely agree where it's like the thing I hate about political movies, and I don't mind political movies. Like you could argue that like the prequel trilogy of Star Wars is political drama almost. Game of Thrones is political
Hmm.
drama, and you can even have political drama that reflects what's actually going on in the world. But like for example, and maybe you guys know this, but infamously, there was a scene cut from the original Sam Raimi Spider Man where originally Spider Man's debut appearance in New York was going to be he stops a bank robbery and the robbers escape in a helicopter. The cops can't get to him, only Spider Man can. And what does he do? He webs the helicopter between the World Trade Center, the
Ooh,
Twin Towers.
okay.
But the movie was set to release in November of 2001. So obviously, they had to cut that from the movie. So what did they did? You get that montage where it's a bunch of New Yorkers just giving their opinion about Spider-Man. He's just kind of there now. And I think it works for the movie, but anyway, that's besides the point. My point being is it's like you do have to kind of have a little bit of sense of nuance. Now, for Ben Shapiro, and I did not watch his review, but for Ben Shapiro to come out and say, "Oh, this is promoting left-wing violence," they didn't make this movie in a week.
Hmm.
They didn't, pre, post, and whatever
Yeah.
production
In interviews,
after Charlie Kirk was dead.
yeah, just a quick thing. In interviews, Paul Thomas Anderson said that he was working on the script for this for 20 years, and this is based off a novel from the 90s, like critiquing the Reagan administration. Well,
Right.
it is critiquing the Reagan administration, but it's about more than that, obviously. But yeah,
Of
just
course.
like
And my
reinforce.
point being is
Yeah,
that
go
like
ahead.
at best they maybe should have like postponed it a little bit. But the truth is, I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. The problem is that you can't control for real world events. And if you can't release it on the planned date, then that causes a bunch of issues because you've already done the marketing, you've already done everything. So when you release it again, it's going to cost more money, and you're probably not going to get the turnout that you're going to get. And like for a film like this, any turnout is needed because it's an
Exactly.
even with like the big budget, it's still at its core an art house movie.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I was gonna
yeah.
say,
Oh, go ahead.
uh,
Sorry, my bad.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I was just gonna tack on one more thing on that, which is there's a lot of regarding the release date, as you both have accurately pointed out. Number one, this was probably in production for years and years before anything of this sort happened. And the second thing is, yeah, there's bad timing, like the Spider-Man example. I think that's fair that you wouldn't want that in something that's so fresh in the mind. But also, political violence isn't an invention of the last 4 years, or even the last 4 days, or even the last 40 years. It's just an ever-present thing. So I think you and I have been talking about it, Jack, a bit, but
Hmm.
everyone, it's a common narrative that like, oh, the 75th, the F-75 are obviously Antifa, but it's like, I mean, if you watch this movie in the 80s, they'd be like the Black Panthers. If you watched it in, the 40s, that'd be, I don't know, something else, right? They'd be like hardline communists or whatever. So,
Yeah,
or like Bolsheviks, I guess.
yeah, I
So
see.
it's not like this is a crazy, it doesn't have to be specifically modern day politics.
Yeah, I see a lot of people trying to compare them to Antifa, but major point of the film is that they're not Antifa. If anything, they're radical leftist terrorist groups from the 60s and 70s, like Weatherman Underground, the Black Panthers, and like a core premise of the film is, or at least a meta message is, what would happen if you took those groups, brought them to the modern day, and they were able to use their tactics? And the answer that I think Paul Thomas Anderson raises, or gives to us, is that they wouldn't be successful and they would only cause more problems than they would solve.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is like part of the nuance that I picked up on was like how yeah, you'll have to forgive me. I'm terrible with the names, especially when it
Oh,
like Leonardo DiCaprio. To
yeah.
me, he's just Leonardo DiCaprio. Who's the
Well, I think we're like we're good.
mother? Who's the mother who has the child? What's her name in the
Oh,
movie?
Perfidia.
Perfidia. Yeah, but
Perfidia.
like it's good that you mentioned
She's
that
portrayed
because
as a thrill seeker.
yeah, because we're gonna get to like the characters right now, I think, like the next slide. Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay.
yeah, so like yeah, so to get into the characters briefly, we have Bob who in the film first goes by Ghetto Pat. I think Bob is an alias for him now. I don't think it's his actual real name. But he's like the bomb maker for French 75, and he sort of goes on an arc, a quick arc, the first 30 minutes where he's like all for the cause, but then after conceiving a child, or supposedly conceiving a child with perfidia, he has second thoughts, and then a after a s- an emergency happens, fatal shooting happens, he has to go off the grid and in hiding, only to later in the film find himself having to go up against an old enemy once again. And next we have his wife, Perfidia. Yeah, so sorry for cutting you off, Josh. Like, go ahead. And
No, no,
what
no.
do you want to say about
You're
her?
right. I was just gonna say like we said, the director he portrays nuance in it where I've seen people. I've watched some reviews of it too, and I've seen people go back on forth, and it's like was Perfidia and what's the military guy's name?
Oh, Lockjaw.
Lockjaw.
Blackshot was
Oh,
his
no, no,
name?
no,
Lockjaw.
Lockjaw. Like
Lockjaw.
Like in Humans, the dog, the big dog, Lockjaw.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So it was like, oh, did he force her into this relationship that they have? I
Mm,
would argue she was actually in it willingly. There was a control to her,
yes.
and they portray her as a thrill seeker. And I think to her, because there was many times she killed. I don't want to spoil. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of us here, but she killed the security guard for arguably just because she could
Hmm.
have killed Lockjaw at any moment. I think she was purposefully having sex with him as a way of thrill seeking, like being with the enemy is dangerous, so
Yeah,
to say it's like, okay, she's not even doing this necessarily for all the right reasons,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Josh,
kind of glad that
oh, go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of glad you said that because when Jack and I were talking about it and we were watching those videos, which were by and large describing her as like anything from oh she's very unlikable but she's clearly the good guy and the script tries to get you to be on her side. I actually completely disagree, and I agree very much more with your assessment that she's sort of a devil may care in it for the adrenaline rush, to the point that I think it's actually fairly ambivalent whether or not she even cares about the people that she's helping or the cause necessarily, because she sells them out immediately as soon as it saves her life. So like
Hmm.
as far as I'm aware, she's doing it because it's fun and it's like a recreational thing, and she's grossly irresponsible. And as Jack I think pointed out, unlike many such archetypes that are frustrating in a lot of modern movies because they do all that and they get away with it, she gets her comeuppance ultimately. I would
Hmm.
argue.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree with both of you. It- Before, like, besides like Ben Shapiro reviews, I also saw some leftist reviews. I read this one Pitchfork article that reviewed the film, and they describe Perfidia and Lockjaw's relationship as Lockjaw raping Perfidia because he uses his power dynamics against her. I just find that stupid. Like, if anything, I found their relationship to be akin to this might sound like nerdy, because it's a cape shit example, but I found it similar to Batman and Catwoman, honestly, where one is pursuing the other, and the one is attracted to being pursued, and that like Perfidia being Catwoman, like Lockjaw being Batman to an extent.
Yeah, kind of like how it's really it's like she's a rebel first before she's a rebel with a cause. So like when she's being a political terrorist, and it's almost like the injustice, the racial grievance stuff, protecting minorities and whatnot. That's the excuse to blow up federal
Hmm.
buildings. You know what I mean? Which is why like her being with another rebel versus her sneaking out and being with literally her enemy, it is more there's more of a high to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
they're
I was
it's more accurate to call them LARPers than freedom fighters.
Yes, and the same goes for Lockjaw.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I was gonna say as well because it's since we're on the the cape shit Marveloid Disney stuff. I was gonna actually compare it to a Star Wars show that I liked recently called Andor, where they also take a crack at exploring like a more grounded, I would say, approach to exploring like insurgencies and how they operate as compared to like authoritarian power structures.
Hmm.
And you will note every single character in that, like Andor, Luthen, Lonnie, they're like, dude, this is not fucking fun time happy hour. We're not doing this because it's fun. We're doing this because we genuinely believe in it, right?
Right.
Whereas Perfidia absolutely does not give those vibes, and neither does Bob. To revisit his character briefly, as
Yeah.
well, he's I think Jack, when we first talked, you compared him to the Big Lebowski. I'd
Yeah,
gone for
Jeff
like,
Bridges.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I'd personally gone for like I know I made the comparison, but like Martin Walker from Spec Ops: The Line. If anyone played that game, for a movie example, like or I guess a book example, but like Marlowe in Heart of Darkness, where he's just kind of going with the flow and doing a lot of damage because he doesn't really even like, he doesn't quit, but he doesn't really know why he's doing it beyond there's people in my way, I guess. But certainly in the latter half of the movie, the sentiment is, oh, I have to get back to my daughter and I'll keep doing these things that further endanger, the pair of us. And I just kind of wind up in situations due to unforeseen consequences of my own actions from way back.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's good that you brought that up again, Jan, because I would say that describes the film more so than just than it being a call to action. It because at its heart, it's more so a film about a father and his daughter trying to reconnect with his daughter because uh Willa, the daughter of Perfidia and supposedly Bob's daughter. She isn't. She's actually Lockjaw's daughter if you've watched the film. But she was raised by him, and like her mindset is to be an aspiring revolutionary like her mother. But she's been given the problem is that she has been given a rose-tinted view of uh of
Yes.
of their exploits by her father because he doesn't think she can handle the truth. And because of that, she's more gung ho. She has more of a vendetta against the status quo because of what they think they took from her. And it's a very I would say she's the Gru hero of the story in a way because she's the one that she's the one that resolves it ultimately. But at the same time, she does the most learning as well, which is
She
where
develops the most.
yeah, she develops the most by confronting like the reality, by confronting her ideals are confronted with reality, and I find that really a really compelling arc. And this is like
Yeah, yeah,
this is
and
this is the actress's Chase Infinity's uh first feature length film, I believe. So there's that too.
yeah, there's been a couple breakouts like Sammy from Sinners. That was his first ever movie.
Yeah,
Yep.
And I mean, I didn't think I thought Sinners was good but overrated, but he was good for his role. So I thought, she
yeah,
seemed to do pretty well, and that's one of the things I like because like that was also not to harken back to like the political commentary. I guess I can't help myself, but it's like I feel like that was another thing. And you, Jan, you kind of mentioned that earlier. How I think how basically the terrorists they don't really accomplish anything. They've been doing this for like decades, and really, like they make friends with the people they release, but really all that serve the only purpose that really serves is just to perpetuate their own exploits and organization. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just something I thought about.
hmm
No, I think you're absolutely correct. And I was also going to point out with regarding Willa, she is again. I think a lot of people are projecting onto her something she's not because I hear a lot of
girl
detractors of the
boss.
film saying like, yeah, she's like she's the girl boss, teenage daughter, think the like girls from Willow, think a lot of these like archetypes of characters where that again are quite prominent, unfortunately, today, where she makes horrific decisions and yet everybody likes her and she gets away with everything. She absolutely does not. Like the entire, movie amounts to her being in near constant peril and at risk of death because of,
Yeah,
her obsession with trying to be a revolutionary, and then ultimately she ends up discovering that she's basically modeled herself after a lie. And then, of course, at the end, there's the letter, which I guess we'll get to eventually. But, many people say that the conclusion is like half baked because, oh, she's still a revolutionary. But, like, there is a significant difference between an armed, violent, like, rebel and just a person going to a protest.
yeah, and I'm really confused by people who say that she makes dumb decisions throughout the films because she doesn't have a whole lot of decisions to make, and the decisions she
Yeah.
does make are either obvious or incredibly smart. Especially in the climax with the car chase scene, that's very clever thinking that not a whole lot of people would come up with, but it was really clever in the moment. But just to go through all of these other characters real quick. Sean Penn plays Lockjaw. Like he's being said his performance has been praised a lot. They so praised so much that he's being said that he deserves an Oscar for best supporting actor. Do you guys see that?
I definitely get it.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think I give the credit to Sean Penn because I don't know if because sometimes like actors kind of take a role and roll with it, pun intended, where
Mhm.
on paper his character does not seem to be as sympathetic as and pathetic. I mean, I think he was supposed to be pathetic, but at times he just came off as like
Intimidating.
sympathetic. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, also sympathetic with his relationship with Perfidia because like all of her friends, he got scorned too in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's, in a sense, another person in like a long list of people that Perfidia fucked over and or ruined. Their sizable amount of their life for, in a sense. And like while again, like I think people are projecting often onto him something he's not. It's like, oh, he's the dumb, stupid, idiot, racist soldier man, right? Like they pretend he's something like akin to like Quaritch from Avatar, even though Quaritch is amazing. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah.
but like they're pretending that he's this character where like he's fairly competent, number one, throughout the movie. Like he doesn't really make any horrendously stupid decisions, other than, well, we'll get to one that I might have some issue with. But and then his outlook on the events, henceforth his like affair with Perfidia make perfect sense, um, considering he got screwed over by her, and he does want to join the Christmas adventurers. And I even appreciate that. Hey, it makes sense if it is confirmed that she's his daughter. He wouldn't have necessarily the spoons to kill her, himself, which I
Yeah,
thought was a fine connection that they leveraged.
yeah. But yeah. Uh, great character. Like I enjoyed him all around. Like he's one of those villains that that you love to hate because he has an intimidating presence, but is also comedic in a way, which makes it makes every scene he's in pretty memorable. But yeah, last character I think is Benicio del Toro, who plays Willa's karate teacher, Sergey. Now, I
Sergey.
feel, yes, it's Sergio, sorry, not
Yeah,
Sergey. Yeah,
he's
but
very Russian.
yeah, but Sergio, like whenever he's on screen with Leonardo DiCaprio, it becomes a buddy cop film, somewhat because you have their two differing personalities, not necessarily clashing, but complementing each other. Like, Pat is someone who's like in over his head. Like he's been out of the game for so long, he doesn't know what to do. But Sergio is someone who is like someone who's arguably doing it better than Pat ever did. Like as being a radical, he's kind of he's calm and collected. He's cool headed. He's he's well in touch with his community instead of instead of Pat, who's constantly living as an outsider, and he's actually accomplishing something, which is significant.
Yeah, yeah. He was definitely a standout role in his small role. Definitely beats his small role in Last Jedi.
Yeah, true,
Oh my god, I actually
true.
forgot that. Oh yeah, he was the codebreaker guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
DJ,
Fuck me.
yeah, DJ, I think his name was.
He was the one person in that movie who actually made sense the way they were written. He did exactly what he expected him to do. Uh, but yeah, no, and I think it's worth highlighting again with because I always, as we're going through these characters, I like to contrast them, as there's a theme of like trying to contrast them against the narrative that is kind of pushed about them, for want of a better term. Uh, and I don't see the logic of people saying like, oh, this movie glorifies Perfidia and like demeans, you know, Bob's attempt to connect with his daughter, or like, and glorifies like Willow's revolutionary spirit. Meanwhile, arguably the most stable, well-adjusted, sane person is just a guy who's a karate teacher, and by non-violent means helps out his, granted, still contravening the law,
Yeah,
but like helps out his community, right?
yeah, way more sympathetic than blowing up buildings, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm very when we get to his portions, Josh, I'm very curious to see what your takeaways on his tactics are. But yeah, last person I want to give a shout out to isn't necessarily isn't even an actor, but the composer Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead fame. He's the lead guitarist for the band. He composed the music for the film, and I thought it was fantastic. Like it does exactly what a musical score is supposed to do. It completely immersed me. Like I felt as though I felt as though he elevated the experience as a whole, like with his minimalistic like piano theme, like music. Uh, but it works. It just works.
I mean, I didn't pay I'm trying to remember, like there was There, granted, I'm not much of a music guy. Like, there's very few movies where the music like really stands out to me because to me it's like I'm so locked. The music is like seasoning on the meat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But so like I don't recall a moment that like really stood out to me. But now that you mention it, I do definitely, I did appreciate it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna highlight, like take the opportunity against to highlight what, because again, music, obviously, like you said, seething on the meat is a good. I think it's an apt comparison, but I would also say that obviously it's still trying to service what the story being told on some level. And to that end, I'd like to just draw attention to the French 75 theme. I think it's like track 2 in the soundtrack, and Jack's highlighted it. You know, it's soundtrack's quite piano heavy in some ways, but the piano in this is again, this is not a heroic track when you like, think about like big, if I was to just like go like hyper extreme comparison, like the Fellowship theme in Lord of the Rings or something, it
Hmm.
is absolutely not that kind of song. It is a very discordant, disorganized. Like there's several pieces of it where it goes off key deliberately. You can tell. Uh, like the entire point is it's trying to sell this as a very disorganized ragtag group of, as Jack said, Lapis, right? Like
Yeah.
this isn't even, it's not a bombastic piece of music that is like trying to say, yeah, they're the good guys. It's like these
Hmm.
guys are kind of goobers.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of discombobulating.
yeah, but real quick, we have a super chat from Lord of the Ree, $5. Which Quentin Tarantino movie is his best work, and why is it Reservoir Dogs? Reservoir Dogs, like, is a great film. Uh, Mainly because I would say like it just shows like the group dynamic and how quickly it falls apart of criminals, like and how they all react differently. You have Mr. Pink, who's only in it for himself, like Mr. Blonde, like who's just psychotic. Yeah, like great film, but getting a little off topic. Do you guys have any quick thoughts on Reservoir Dogs?
Mm, look, I love Reservoir Dogs. It's probably my one of my favorite Tarantino movies, but I got to give Pulp Fiction its due. I still think Pulp Fiction just
It's the
just
king.
it it does it better. Look, I mean, I'm not saying it's one of my favorites. Although, real quick aside before Jan jumps in, one of my favorites, vastly underrated, is The Hateful Eight. I've probably watched that more than
No,
any other
I
one of
Say
his
that
movies.
actually.
Josh, that actually is a great. Yeah, I would say that's like a perfect it's an inverse to Reservoir Dogs in a way because it in Reservoir Dogs it ends in the death of a friendship, but in Hateful Eight it ends uh with a friendship beginning or really ending
Yes,
too when you think about it. But since they die,
but
but
yeah,
still,
there's
point stands.
reconciliation amongst like the most obvious enemies. You know, you got a room full of people that want to kill each other. You got a Union guy, former like freed slave fighting for the Union, and a Confederate renegade who they hate each other the most, obviously.
Hmm.
And then they become unlikely friends by the end of it. Love it, dude. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
yeah,
I'm
but
so glad to have met someone else who's Hateful Eight pilled, because I would actually say Hateful Eight is my favorite, with Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs being close, probably second and third. They're quite interchangeable. But I think it's worth pointing out, like all of his films are excellent. I'd say so.
yeah, but oh yeah, real quick, Marcus Emoto says Josh audio is a little quiet, other guy too. If you can't change it, like that's fine, but like see if like you can like increase it or not. But
I've turned it up as much as I can on
How's
my end.
how's that sound?
yeah, you sound
Marcus
louder on my
Amona.
end. You sound louder on
Okay.
my end, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm not hearing my own audio, just you guys. So I don't really have a good. Let me. I'll mute myself and. Well, how can I listen to myself if I mute myself? Anyway, we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. You're fine. Yeah, but like before we move on, like I just want to look at the chat again. Billy Donuts. Did someone say donuts and then like tons of donuts in the chat?
Donuts.
Yeah, I'm hungry for a donut, but like that one reviewers for this movie are so strange because people are taking it as if the French 75 are the good guys who are doing what needs to be done, and the government are the obviously evil people. Well, yeah, there are. It's more nuanced than that. That one reviewer. I agree. We all agree. But yeah, let's move on because I know you guys can't be here all day. So yeah, like getting started with the film, it takes place. It starts off with a illegal immigrant detention center by the southern border, and we're quickly introduced to the French 75, specifically Ghetto Bob and Perfidia. Then they launch an operation that liberates several of the illegal immigrants from with a bomb Ghetto Pat made, which they take where they store all of them in a moving truck off the away from the facility. However, while this is happening, Perfidia meets Lockjaw for the first time and holds him at gunpoint. Uh, hol- and she makes him get a boner forcefully, and she parades him around the facility, humiliating him. And uh, you at first you may think that this would be the start of like an intense hatred between from Lockjaw, but no, like it's actually begins like a sexual tension between the two, and Perfidia uses this like brings the sexual tension towards Ghetto Pat, and then they start a relationship. And yeah, moving on from that, Lockjaw starts to become obsessed with her, and they follow. He starts like following them obsessively, and this eventually leads to him catching her in the act of their latest scheme, and he gives her an ultimatum, which is to either come become a secret lover, or like he exposes them all. And Perfidia chooses the former. She becomes his secret lover. Now, Josh, earlier, you said that you don't view you view the relationship as consensual because at several points, Perfidia could have simply uh, taken taken an opportunity to take Lockjaw out, and I completely agree with you. Like, look at this scene. Like, she has her or his gun, and she has him at her will, but she engages in a relationship with him in secret. Like, I don't see how someone can say, "Oh yeah, she was forced into this," when she has every opportunity to get out of it.
Yeah, Perfidia is basically, which I think is gradually revealed throughout the movie, is revealed to basically be, as we've kind of established, she's selfish. This is her, she's using the revolution to justify her will, like what she wants to do. She has fun, she enjoys doing all these things, and really the sake of the thing is the excuse. It's kind of like, what if Batman were doing it because he's a thrill seeker as opposed to a sense of justice? If he's still
Hmm.
doing everything exactly the same, but doing it for the wrong reasons, it calls into question their genuineness as characters. So I think that really what Lockjaw is doing is, by saying, either, by giving her an ultimatum, what is actually happening is giving her a excuse or the permission she needs to engage in this sexual relationship that she's definitely into, but she's justifying it to herself as, oh, I have to do this for the good of the cause.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I also want to highlight, because this is again uh, one of many instances where, as you say, Perfidia is making decisions selfishly. Lockjaw is a colonel in the army. If she executes him, that's probably a bigger win for the revolution,
Hmm.
right? Than her just sleeping with him, because she
Yeah,
doesn't even really use it for leverage or anything. She just does it to get out of it. And then, as
yeah,
far as we're aware, she's not really using Lockjaw or taking advantage of the connection in a meaningful sense.
yeah, and she could have just like taken out Lockjaw here instead of just entering a relationship with him, and it would only come at the expense of herself, not really the entire organization.
Yeah,
Though they do seem to like with Lockjaw, they do seem to get them like apprehend or kill them very easily. But again, that was like with Perfidia and Lockjaw's help, who was uh again, Lockjaw was obsessively chasing after them. So who knows how competent they would have been without either of them. But yeah, moving on. Yeah, Perfidia becomes pregnant. It's unclear who the father of the child is. Later, it becomes Lockjaw, but yeah, like Perfidia is really unwilling to accept her role as a mother. Like she still wants to become a thrill seeker. And again, like as we already pointed out, it's kind of funny how a lot of people interpret this scene as an endorsement when if you look at it in the context, she's being like very immature, like she's being a bitch essentially. She's like she's endangering her child in this scene. Like who knows like what this could harm like Willa's hearing. Like there's so many wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this scene.
The
And
gun could, hit her stomach and,
yeah,
yeah,
the
uh,
baby.
yeah, and
yeah. I think we're getting. Oh god.
oh yeah, but and Pat on the other hand is having second thoughts. He's saying this is not an environment for a child. Like I think we should start to retire. And yeah, he's also kind of questioning how effective their methods are, like in the grand scheme of things. Like what change are they even doing? But yeah, go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, I was gonna actually basically, yeah, reaffirm what you've pretty much just said, which is Bob is at all points in this, or Pat at the time, is portrayed as the stable, rational one in the relationship at this point. Very
Hmm.
obviously, he's not. The movie isn't telling you, oh, Bob is an idiot or whatever, as people try to frame him, because there's obviously a drastic change from what he is now to what he ends up being after the fact. But like now, when he's at his prime, so to speak, he's already, as you said, questioning number one their effectiveness, and two whether this is just the right thing for the baby.
Yeah, and yeah, eventually Willa is born, and this causes them to stray further apart with Pat trying to appeal to Perfidia's like mother obligation as a mother, and she refuses to acknowledge it, saying that she she owes she owes her life to the revolution when really she just wants to LARP, she wants to do what she wants. And yeah, at the same time, Lockjaw, who is again looking at their lives unfold from the sidelines, kind of subtly goes up to Pat and says, yeah, this baby's mine. He implies that to him, and he kind of figures it out. He kind of figures it out that Perfidia is seeing him on the side. So he, I feel as though he knows somewhat that the possible. I don't think he definitively knows that Willa is Lockjaw's daughter, but he definitely knows that Lockjaw was sleeping with Perfidia this scene. Like, do you think that's what communicates?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, because like leading up to it, but the once again, as far as we're aware from the information the movie gives us, like yeah, Lockjaw is like keeping an eye on them, so to speak, but they're still operating, and as far as we're aware, Perfidia isn't leveraging this connection of she pretty much has a kernel wrapped around her finger for all intents and purposes, and
Hmm.
she doesn't seem to be using it for anything worthwhile for the revolution other than her own satisfaction.
Yeah, she doesn't even
Yeah,
tell.
that's a yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was just gonna say that's a good point. I know you brought it up earlier, but like I hadn't thought about that. Where it's like she clearly, like, he's engaged in this to him it's not just, oh, I found someone I can have sex with. Like, he's really into her.
Hmm.
I mean, it is sexual, but he
Romantically.
is into her, and she, yes, and doesn't leverage that in any way. It's not like, oh, maybe I can get information out of him, maybe I'll rifle through his wallet or something. Like, it's just doing what she wants.
She doesn't
Yep.
even tell like her fellow members of the French 75 that she's in the relationship or that she was forced into it. She just said it's just her dirty little secret.
Exactly.
Which would immediately like that would change the game so much, having like a potential extremely senior, member of the military that you would be able to leverage, but she
Hmm.
doesn't do it. And
Yep.
I feel that the movie doesn't explicitly say it, but I feel that we're pretty clearly like because you also have to contrapose to I think the scene we're going to be talking about relatively either next or relatively soon. But the one time she does leverage the connection is to save her own ass. That is
Yeah.
literally all she does with it.
Yeah, I think that's literally what's going to be talked about. Yes, yes, because the French 75 members are low on funds to for their operations, so they perform a bank robbery. Jungle Pussy, yes, that's her actual name. She delivers a speech saying that this is what she is what black excellence looks like essentially. Basically like a basically LARPing, like as I've already said that these people are the French 75 are. And unfortunately things escalate because Perfidia shoots a security guard who, if you notice, the security guard is black. So she can't really say that she's let me get rid of Jan real quick. Yeah. There's he's a black security guard
Yep.
and she already shot him and he she shoots him again, making her a murderer. And this causes the French 75 to be like the government to actually take the French 75 seriously. And they ultimately catch Perfidia, but she's given an out by Lockjaw. And I would say like this scene, like it really communicates how both Lockjaw and Perfidia are the worst of both worlds in terms of I suppose right-wing authoritarianism and left-wing terrorism. Because instead of Perfidia saying, you know what, like it's my fault, it's my fault, like I pulled the trigger, I killed the guy, it wasn't my comrades who did this, so I should take the heat for it. No, she does accept responsibility, and she instead becomes a rat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in so doing, she exposes what the inherent weakness of like left-wing terrorist groups. Not only they're not only in being needlessly violent, but they aren't really true to their cause because she'll sell them out in an instant. And uh Lockjaw, on the other hand, is just he goes about he goes about dealing with a French 75 in a very brutal fashion. Like he doesn't really respect due process. Like he just starts killing them like point blank, shooting at them point blank.
Mhm.
And regardless, he's rewarded heavily for this. Like he gets a promotion, I think. If he wasn't like a colonel then, he's a definitely a colonel now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like he rises up the ranks. This is what gets him noticed by higher ups in the form of the Christmas adventurers later on. But Willa, like she's disgusted by this. She feels incredibly guilty over what she's done. So she vanishes. She disappears without telling Lockjaw and she leaves a note saying, "This pussy don't pop for you." Which devastates him because again he showed up at her doorstep with flowers and like he's heartbroken and that definitely plays a role into him I think this is what causes him to be racist, to just go like full Wignat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last we see of Perfidia is fleeing to Mexico, which and she never shows up again, at least in
Yeah,
person for the rest of the film. And I think this is like a like this is moving on quite a bit, Jan, but I mentioned to you how I don't think the letter Bob gives her, like gives Willa by the end, is actually from her because she's taking like to me that doesn't seem in character, right?
I
Because
agree.
she is like already make taking a risk in telling in sending a postcard, a letter from Mexico, alerting the authorities, potentially alerting the authorities where she is, and she's not using that as an opportunity to let them know where she is, to tell them to come join her. Because
Yeah,
keep in mind, like Bob is still a fugitive by by the American government. So that would be it would be in his best interest if he took Willa and and took her to join their mother. So
yeah,
yeah, so it
I
doesn't make sense why
honestly,
she wouldn't and why she wouldn't inform them that she's in Mexico so they can reunite.
I kind of took it as like going off of the, Perfidia kind of being selfish. It's like now her life, her whole like trajectory has completely changed, and now she's willing to have a family because she's lost everything.
Hmm.
yeah. I think that the letter is genuine, but I'm inclined to agree with Josh that the reading should be she, because she again, hence the name Perfidius and all that. Like she pretty much she will betray anyone and anything to get the most out of a situation so she can have her way. And it just makes sense that, oh, she left that note for Lockjaw, and it's like, okay, well, now that you're no longer the preferable option, I'm gonna like try to reconcile with my family.
Right.
But then the circumstances happen to make it impossible. Uh, it's yeah, I think it's maybe a good time to like go over, because again, you said this is the last time she appears in the movie.
Hmm.
This is a character that many people are trying you to convince the movie is portraying favorably, and I just don't see it at all. Every single
Yeah.
action she takes, she one ends up suffering negative consequences for, because let's assume that the letter is genuine. She is denied the ability to see her family again. Uh, and more's the point, she's entirely like the maker of her own fate in every regard. She had the
Hmm.
ability to get out and chose not to.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, and she ends up leaving behind a father and daughter who have to be perpetually on the run, fearing for their lives, and by extension, due to her extended feud with Lockjaw and what she ends up doing to Lockjaw, it nearly costs her her daughter's life.
Yeah. And she's yeah, so it's weird how people characterize her as a girl boss who don't need no man when she absolutely requires a man, like
And
a man like on both sides of being like
yeah,
like a wannabe revolutionary and like a rat to escape consequences. So yeah, she's
yeah,
like she's by all means a deconstruction and critique of like the shallow girl boss that we've come to see in very in big blockbuster films. So I'm shocked that people aren't the people critical of this film aren't more receptive to this the portrayal of this character.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
like, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
go. I was just gonna say, like on that note, all of the there there is a fair amount of, like we've discussed this whole review, a fair amount of like actual nuance to this movie, which is all fine and well. It's honestly been kind of astonishing to me, the people that love it and the people that hate it, the reasons they give for loving
Hmm.
it and hating it. Like
Yeah.
Jack, you brought up the far right, like there's definitely surface level ammunition for either of those arguments. Like
Yeah.
the commentaries on race and like, oh, the hard right conservative like MAGA general is secretly impotent and loves his black queens. You know what I mean? Like it's there's surface level ammunition for anyone, but I think that is kind of the point. Is it's like, well, maybe it's not intentional, but at least that's how I interpret it, as like both sides kind of have their own failings in their own
Yeah.
ways. Well, like you said, this is based off like a Cold War Reagan era book. It is very like honky, like goofy honky tonk conservative. At least that's how it comes across at times.
Yeah, when it comes to like the depictions of like right wing adjacent figures in this movie, I would like my recommendation for like conservatives seeing this is if you want to get the most out of it, look at this as a PSA from Paul Thomas Anderson to leftists or like a leftist aspiring to commit violence. He's essentially saying, "Hey, hey leftists, hey Antifa, let's say you're completely correct about the state of the United States, or like the government of the United States. It's run by white supremacists. They're coming after abortion. The police are committing are brutalizing protesters. Illegal immigrants are being treated horribly. Let's say all that's true. Your tactics would still not be valid. They would still not be successful, and that's why you're going to lose no matter what you do, because the moment you rely on uh, the moment you rely on violence to enact political change, the state is going to crack down on you harder because they have greater means of committing violence at their disposal. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, and it only validates the idea what what they are is bad. Like when you're committing terrorism, and like for example, the black security guard, he's just a guy doing his job caught in the crossfire and viciously executed. It only kind of validates everything they say about the revolutionaries.
Hmm.
And I was
Exactly.
going to say one more thing because we have the Josh, you touched on it a little bit, but the interplay between the two extremes, right, so to speak. We have on one hand Perfidia, who portrays like sort of the left-wing extremist, and on the other, of course, Lockjaw, who ends up portraying the right-wing extremist. And like you said aptly, there's that pastiche of he's like a white supremacist guy who's actually down for black women, which is like like a common stereotype, and he's doesn't see the forest for the trees, which causes him to make mistakes, and he's obsessive and shit like that. But then all of the negative characteristics of Perfidia are quite commonly, I would note, associated with like left wing or like Antifa stereotypes. She's a LARPer wannabe revolutionary that is just doing this because she thinks it's fun. And she wants to be, violent and promiscuous with no consequences. And then when the consequences come, she immediately betrays everybody.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
her, to her, it was never, this is a battle I've got to face, and eventually one day it'll catch up with me. It's like, nah, this is like a hobby. Oh crap, it's serious. Gotta go. Boing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and then when it catches up with me, I will sell everybody out and get the fuck off to the Bahamas. Have a good one. Bye. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
See ya.
Yep.
Show's over.
Time to retire. Yeah, her
Yeah.
retiring is paying, you know, paying her future off with the blood of her compatriots and her friends.
Yeah.
And almost a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, in an interview with Paul Thomas Anderson I saw for this film, even he doesn't have a favorable view of this character. Like he describes her as untrustworthy and volatile. So when people like just keep that in mind for people who say, "Oh, the intention of this character was for you to find her sympathetic and root for her." That's delusional. Just completely delusional. That with that being said, the film has a time skip of that the plot goes transitions 16 years later, and we now follow a Willa in high school, a teenage Willa in high school, and she is like her mindset is fully uh poisoned. Well, like it's biased towards Perfidia's favor by Bob. Well, Ghetto Pat, who is now going by Bob, who has taught her like to value the revolution, to have this to value her revolutionary spirit, but to also keep to herself because he's very paranoid. He doesn't want to lose her, and yeah, he's been just hiding all these years, just been coked like drugged up, trying to keep to himself, not cause any trouble. Willa, though, wants revenge for over from the government for what's been taken from her, and yeah, she just wants her comeuppance.
Yep.
Right. I mean, I thought that I like that was one of the things where I saw Jack, before this movie came out, I saw the trailer one time, and the only thing I remember is Leonardo DiCaprio screaming "Viva la Revolution!" and I just remember thinking this looks dumb, and I hadn't thought about the movie since until you asked me to like do a review with you for it. But I think this was one of the movies, kind of like Weapons, where they did a good job at kind of concealing what this is actually about.
Hmm. I agree.
That's why, like, when the time skip happens, I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's very much so like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Oh well, no, I was just gonna say. Again, it's Willa. A lot of people look at her, I think, in a lot of her earlier scenes, where she's very much portrayed as quite cocksure, and I want to. As I said, she's been, you would almost say poisoned, but with good intention, obviously. But nobody ever wants to hurt anyone and shit like that. But she's been like told by her father that, like, oh, your mother was an admirable person, really, because you don't want to tell your daughter that her mother was a heinous piece of shit. Uh,
Hmm.
but then over time, this is Willa at the start, and a lot of people are like, oh, this is just like how she ends, and the entire movie now ends up from this point forward is her just getting a big old tour on all the things that Perfidia ruined.
Yeah. Well, I also think that it's like to an extent, Bob believes what he's saying, right? He can't. It's like he can't accept that Perfidia did what she did. So I don't think he's necessarily lying to Willa, but I just think he's like sharing his uh, just again a rose tinted view of the past that isn't necessarily true.
I
Yeah,
do think some of the right wing people, when they say that Bob, Pat, when he's like a simp, I do think there is some truth to that, but it's not like that deep. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like he definitely is. He's trying to convince himself that it was worth it, and
Hmm.
Willa is like the canvas. It's like if I can convince her, then it must be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's a good point, because I think it feeds into, again, there's a very strong theme in this about parenthood and fatherhood. I would say specifically, and Lockjaw is sort of in this way, like, as many villains are, like antagonists are, kind of Bob's, like, dark reflection of a sort, because he is the actual father, the biological father, but he wants to execute his daughter and then can't go through with it, so he, tries to hand off the duty to someone else. Whereas Bob is the one thing, like, that is presumably saving him or keeping him, like, serving as his North Star, so to speak, is, oh, I still have a daughter that I need to look after, despite
Hmm.
all of the, kind of bad shit that he did and, continues to kind of do until he gets the kick up the ass to actually, embark on the, so to speak, adventure, right?
Right. Yeah. Like both he and Lockjaw mirror each other in both in the fact that they were both like left completely broken by their former lover, their shared former lover.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, so as I said, Bob is just like completely overprotective, though his worldview, like his political worldview, is still shared with Willa. Though at the back of his mind, he kind of knows what I did didn't accomplish anything. It just fucked up my life. I don't want that to happen to Willa. And I think that's like a really, I think I find that to be like a very fascinating takeaway from Paul Thomas Anderson. It's as if he's saying the older, the older you get, the more you realize how uh young and young and naive you are in your political views.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like the contradictory nature of parents where he doesn't realize that in so doing, where he's trying to convince himself that what he did was righteous, in the same way that Perfidia does, and he's using his daughter as that canvas. Well, what does he do? He ends up creating the thing he doesn't want, which is his daughter to become a revolutionary, but he's not considering it in that way. You know,
Hmm.
in him selfishly trying to convince himself, he has inadvertently convinced her. And that's why, like, as Jack, you pointed out earlier, it's really her development. Like, she is the one who develops the most
Hmm.
because she realizes by the end. I think Bob does too, but you know, it's too little, too late. You could say, but that's up for interpretation.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, again, I would say what I like about this dynamic is that you have the former radical who originally wanted to like burn down the system, saw nothing about it worth salvaging, or uh, now like his mindset has completely changed when he becomes a parent, because you need structure to raise a child. You become vested in the system you don't really like to an extent. So you want to make sure it runs efficiently, even if you have problems with it. So over time, even if you don't vote differently, you become somewhat conservative to an extent, a small c conservative.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you have a naive when you're young, you have a naive sense of injustice and a naive sense of how to handle it. And then you realize like, oh, you know, the system actually does serve a purpose. And I think a perfect example of that is the black security guard. It's like, why, you know, in Perfidia's mind, why wouldn't he be on my side? Well, he's probably got a wife, he's got a kids, and he has a realistic sense of the world, like a better grasp of reality on the world. It's like, it may not be perfect, but it's better than living on the run, you know, potentially being killed. Like, I have responsibilities in a family.
Yeah. Jan, any
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna just like tack onto that. The again, I think it's fair to point out where with Willa, again, a lot of people say like at the end, oh, she's still like protesting, but I think there's a fair case to be made. Like I know Ben Shapiro made like a big deal about it. It was like, oh, she's still a revolutionary because she's protesting and shit like that, right? But it's like, I mean, that's kind of it's kind of normal for younger, especially like mid-teens, pre like mid-20s young
Yeah,
people.
and I feel as though this needs to be pointed out in the film. It makes sense for her to feel that way because she was like an
Yeah.
unjust victim of the state. Like she is aware of this. Like even if like in the real world, if you want to say, yeah, a lot of like this revolutionary like attitudes unjustified. For her, it is justified because, and like in the film, it is established that there is a like a there is a deep state conspiring against normal people, specifically her.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, besides Bob and Willa, uh, Lockjaw has rose through the ranks, and he so much so that he has come across. He has gotten the attention of a secret group of white supremacists. Ben Shapiro called them Christian nationalists. I didn't really get that impression. I feel like he's just like trying to be, he's trying to invoke like the current thing into this for some reason. But they're a they're like a secret society that's uh secretly controlling the government, and what specifically to do, mainly terrorize like immigrants or yada yada yada. and they're thinking about inviting Lockjaw into their fold, like into their group. But an issue arises when he he hears one of the rules. The leader pretty much goes to him and says, now see here, boy. Now see here. Like, we don't want, we're willing to let you into our fold, boy, but you have to abide by some of our rules. One of such rules is no black women. You better not have slept with any black woman, boy, or we'll kill all you. You hear? But and Lockjaw just goes, black women, Blech, yuck! I can't stand them. And in the back of his mind, it's just like, I gotta take out this. I gotta tie up any loose
Loose
ends,
end.
or I'm fucked. I'm fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna touch briefly on the because I'm gonna have time. I only have like 5 minutes left, but it's one thing I did want to hammer on as well regarding the what Ben Shapiro said with like the and we kind of repeating the idea that the Christmas adventurers are in fact kind of just like a very unique extremist group because Ben Shapiro was like, oh, these guys are obviously Christian nationalists, and I think Chris Gore was like, oh, these guys are MAGA, right? It's like I don't really see how anyone could come to the conclusion that they are either a comparatively smaller political movement or a pretty large, broad tent political movement that is
Hmm.
operating by anything resembling conventional means when they are literally a underground, like as you said, secret society.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make any sense.
yeah. Also, like Trump and MAGA are never mentioned once. Like besides
Yeah,
Christmas being the name of the group, or and them saying Merry Christmas. That's still not. Uh, I still won't use that as proof that they're Christians. Necessarily. Because
yeah.
Christmas can also be seen as like a very secular holiday, depending on who you talk to. But
Yeah,
And
I
go
definitely
ahead.
think there's a Christian like parallel. But again, it's like who I definitely think that in it is kind of like this secret society is kind of put forth to be an over the top representation of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like this is what some of the like hyper liberals unironically believe, and it's not put there to be validating. It's put there
Hmm.
to be like, look how ridiculous this actually is. You know,
Yeah.
is what you actually believe. At least that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah. It's like I said earlier. In order for this to be like a successful PSA against leftist violence, you need to appeal to them to a degree and say, look, even in the worst case scenario, these tactics still aren't good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would still say this society kind of goes past the two party system because what 16 years ago is when they is when they were like freeing liberating illegal immigrants from detention centers. If we're looking at this from in terms of presidents, assuming that it's the same history, Obama should have been in office, I believe. And yeah. I
Obama.
yeah, that
yeah,
one as well. If this movie was what people wanted to be, do we really think in Anno Domini 2025 the big Hollywood market, studio would shy away from just having an obvious Trump allegory in there? Like, come on now,
yeah,
if that's what they were going for.
Right. Like I don't mean to like go off, and I know Jen, you got to go here soon probably, but have y'all been watching The Boys or Gen V at all?
Unfortunately, I have seen all 4 seasons of The Boys, much to my chagrin.
Me too. I like, and it's like, look, after 8 seasons, and when you include Gen V, we get it. Like the gross sex stuff. Okay, can we have the plot now, please? But the aside is that is like a on the nose thing. I mean, like
hmm.
in the past episode of Gen V, they literally have signs that say "Make America Super Again."
Yeah.
Like that is like an
Having
on the nose comparison.
having them wear red hats.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Just
it's funny. It's still like superhero stuff, but it's from a different. But I recently finished Daredevil Born Again. Very bad. Don't watch. But again, they had Kingpin serve as a fucking Trump allegory in it. Like, they can't help themselves, guys. They're not going to be subtle about this. This isn't some 10 more billion IQ. It would be super obvious if it was. I promise you.
You said
There'll be
Daredevil
people with red
season
hats.
one?
Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah,
No.
the first three
Oh,
Daredevil
seasons are
Born
great.
Again.
the first three seasons are peak, yes. Born Again is terrible, but 1, 2, 3 are great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
Kingpin.
probably my
Yeah,
favorite.
obviously he's like, we're gonna make this city great again.
Great again. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like it feels like for some reason a lot of the people who are in the right media sphere are like forgetting that, like, guys, when the Hollywood, like, studios started meddling and started, trying to slant in a particular political way, it's not some 10 billion fucking IQ psyop, all right? It's a guy with blonde hair in a blue suit with a fucking American flag as his cape that is saying, as you said, "Make America Super Again." All right? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
it's not some clever, like, disguised thing.
yeah,
Yeah, it is thinly veiled, and I like it's a joke, But that's my point. Is it's like I think like what where the boys is very one dimensional. This movie is not.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree. I do have to hop out though, but
All
yeah,
right.
you guys finish the rest of the stream. Have fun. If you want to do a part two, let me know. But yeah, it's been a pleasure meeting you,
Yeah,
Josh. Pleasure hanging out with both you guys, and have a good one. All right,
yeah.
stay
Have
safe.
a
Yeah,
good
good to
one,
meet you too,
Jan.
Jan.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Later. All right. So it's just you and me now, Josh. You good for like another hour or so, or like are you gonna have to head out soon too?
I can do another 10 minutes. I
Okay,
apologize,
okay.
but yeah, I got to be up
That's
at four
that.
o'clock for
Yeah, that's
work.
fine. We
So
could do a part two. We could do a part two.
I'm down. I'm down.
Okay. But yeah, let me think about like what's a good way to leave off. Let me see. So yeah, uh, yeah. So after this, like after being told this, that he violated the rules, uh, Lockjaw starts to like is reinvigorated to go after the remaining French 75 members to find his daughter to see. Well, he doesn't know if Willa is his daughter for a fact, but he has to take
Right.
care of her like as a loose end to ensure that he doesn't get killed. And so he hires like so he sends his men, including this guy Avanti, who becomes relevant much later on in the film, and he kidnaps Billy Goat, this guy who is like the point Dexter of the whole organization, and they basically talk him into telling uh giving the location to of Bob and Willa. And yeah, so other French 75 members like Georgina King, I forget her name, like Deandra, I think her name is. Like she finds out and she reaches Willow. Oh no, Willa, not Willow, sorry. She reaches Willa and says, "You need to come with me if you want to live." And at the same time, uh Bob finds out that that they're coming after him too from her, and he barely makes it out. He barely makes it out from Lockjaw's men.
Right.
Again, like I feel like his intelligence isn't really uh given the proper attention it's been given. He's out of the game, sure, but he's still pretty smart. He knows how to make bombs. He knows how to like create a he knows how to escape from authority still after all these years.
Right.
Yeah, pretty smart guy. But issues arise when he tries to find Willa. When he contacts like the remnants of the French 75 by asking them the coordinates of where to meet with Willa, and he because he's been out of the game for so long, he doesn't know how to answer. He doesn't know the password for the question, And I don't know about you, Josh, but this is one of my favorite moments or running gags throughout the film because I think it really communicates part one of the main points of the film, which is uh it once you become a parent, you really get out of this revolutionary mindset to an extent.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was good where it's like he's basically a different person in that sense where he doesn't care and this was a like I don't know about you Jack, but I don't I'm not going to say that Leonardo DiCaprio is a bad actor. I would never say that.
Yeah,
I do think he's overrated, but I think the reason people love him so much is the shouting, is the
he
like
knows how to
the
emote.
crash outs. Yes, he's very flamboyant in his rage. I think a perfect example of this is like any scene in The Wolf of Wall Street. It's in he's an entertaining on air or on on screen presence.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was one of the scenes like that.
He did have it before he became like a super prominent actor. He started out on Growing Pains, which was a TV show. But yeah.
On occasion have been flashbanged by young Leonardo DiCaprio. Like I watched a movie called Critters 2 and I was like, "Good
Okay.
lord, that 9-year-old looks just like Leonardo DiCaprio." And it was.
I've
Like
never
him
seen.
being a kid.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, Critters, it's like a it's Timu Gremlins, but it's fun.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I'll check it out. Yeah,
Yeah, I actually got put onto it because of Red Letter Media.
oh, okay. Yeah, what one of their
Yeah.
best of the worst or like reviews.
Yes, yes, it was a review.
Okay. Yeah, you said you don't have like 5 or so minutes left?
Yeah, I think I had better wrap it up. I got to hop on a call here before too long. But
All right.
I honestly like I want to finish this up cuz there's so much more to cover.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe next week we can do a part 2.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think Jan would be up for that too. But yeah,
Sweet.
just to like close this off, Bob unfortunately forgot the password and he finds himself at odds with like the current member, like the current secretary of the French 75 because he's not going to tell them the coordinates uh despite uh clearly no like making it clear that he's already pretty in touch with a lot of revolutionary lingo even if he doesn't remember the password, which makes his disconnect from the modern day revolutionary mindset very apparent. And how will this affect the rest of the plot? That is to be determined next time, like next week, we have a when we finish this little breakdown. And
Sweet.
yeah, let's see. Anyone in the chat? Well, everyone in the chat, thank you for tuning in. We'll be sure to finish this. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.